I'm going to keep the hype train rolling here with my question. So I went back and looked, and you might remember in 2019, the Browns somehow, despite how abysmal that season was, the Browns had 2,000-yard receivers. Jarvis Landry had 1,174 yards, and then Odell Beckham Jr. got to 1,035 yards. Some people might remember he caught the pass that put him over 1,000 yards and ran to the sideline and sat down and had like a stomach bug. He was in bad shape, but he managed to get to his 1,000 yards that year in that Freddie Kitchens finale. So my question is, with the revamped passing attack, with the receiving core that we've talked about, that includes Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Elijah Moore, how many 1,000-yard receivers will the Browns have in 2023? And of course, there's one extra game than there was back in 2019. So how many 1,000-yard receivers? If I put it at 1.5, Mary Kay, is that like an easy over? Like, yeah, of course they're going to have two, or could it be more spread out where maybe it's like Amari gets there, but it's more spread out between Elijah and DPJ and David Njoku, and maybe there's more receivers? Because I'll also add, when you look at the receiving leaders from that season, it goes Jarvis, Odell, and then Kareem Hunt was third in yards at 285. So there's a huge drop off from 2 to 3 that season.
Mm-hmm. And that wasn't Deshaun Watson, of course.
That was not Deshaun. It was Baker Mayfield. Yes.
Baker Mayfield. So yeah, I think Deshaun Watson. Now let's remember, the last time he was himself, the last time we saw him play a full season, he threw for a league leading 4,800 some yards. So I am going to say that there will be at least 2 1,000-yard receivers on this football team. I think Amari will be one of them. I think Elijah Moore will be another one of them. And I think that David Njoku could come close to being one of them as well. And, he might get there too. So I'm going to say 2+. I think it's definitely going to be 2 and maybe more.
Okay, so you mentioned that 2020 Texans team, and I wanted to go back and just for context, look at what the receivers were there. So Brandon Cooks led the way with 1,150 yards. Will Fuller had 879, but that was in 11 games, by the way. Randall Cobb and then you had like 3 guys eclipse 400 yards. So it was a little more spread out, but actually Will Fuller probably would have gotten to 1,000. Was that the year he got suspended? Maybe, I can't remember, but he only played 11 games. So he probably would have gotten to 1,000. So there would have been 2 that year in Houston. Do you like the over at 1.5?
This is tough. I did, as Mary Kay was laying out her case there, I did the same thing you did and pulled up the stats from that 2020 Texans team to see what it looked like. I think with the context that Will Fuller played in, missed those 6 games or whatever it was. And I looked it up. Yeah, he was suspended in November of 2020 was when they announced that, it looks like. If he had played a full season, I think he would have got there. So I'm going to take the over on 1.5. I think somebody is going to emerge besides Amari Cooper in that way. And yeah, I think the Texans stats from that year show that compared to when the Browns had multiple 1,000-yard receivers the last time, it was a bit more spread out. Like you said, there were 3 guys in that 400-yard range after the top 2. So I do think there is a way for both things to be true. It is more spread out and there is a gap, but I don't think it will be as wide as it was when Baker Mayfield had 2 receivers catch that many passes for that many yards.
Mary Kay, I thought it was interesting that the second receiver you mentioned after Amari was Elijah Moore. If you had to pick 2, do you think he's more likely than Donovan Peoples-Jones to get to that 1,000-yard mark?
I kind of think so. I don't know if it will end up working out that way. He's got to develop that chemistry with Deshaun Watson, but I think that they, put him onto this football team and made this trade sort of to be that guy. And I think they feel that he has, the twitchiness and the skill set that will really complement all the things that Deshaun can really do. I think he's going to get a lot of targets. I think he can play inside, he can play outside. So yeah, I do see him getting the ball a lot. And I think that he can actually go out and pull this off.
So the case I would make for there only being